The quarterback position for Georgia over the last few years has been very interesting. You started out with a couple of big names like Jacob Eason, Justin Fields, and Jake Fromm, but two of those guys ended up leaving, and they were eventually left with Stetson Bennett. By no means did he pass the eye test, but he ended up getting the job done. JT Daniels also came and went, and then this past season we saw the emergence of Carson Beck. Currently he's seen as a top 3 quarterback going into 2024, and has some legitimate NFL and Heisman hype. Beck is pretty dang good, but for some unknown reason, Georgia decided that they were going to take another guy out of the portal. Kirby Smart is usually very calculated with the players he takes, especially at the quarterback position, and that's why Jaden Rashada transferring to Georgia to me makes absolutely no sense. No offense to Jaden, I think he's a good player and he obviously has some talent, but there's really no reason to think that Jaden Rashada should ever play for Georgia or that he fits what the program's looking for. Based on what we've read, I don't know the full true story. Jaden Rashada was a complete basket case coming out of high school. He kept entertaining NIL offer after NIL offer, and both Florida and Miami could not end up paying him, and it all fizzled out. He's one of those quarterbacks that seemingly was taking the biggest check possible, and then eventually went to Arizona State out of nowhere. He had 3 different commitments during his high school career. After just a couple of games at ASU, he got hurt for the rest of the season. Honestly, he did not impress at all in any of those first few games for ASU, and then the rumor is that he was losing the quarterback battle incoming transfer Sam Leavitt. Somehow though, Rashada entered the portal and is now ending up at Georgia. Is this an insurance policy? Is this a project quarterback? Or is there something I'm missing here? In today's video, I want to talk about this. I'm going to talk about what in my opinion is the weirdest transfer quarterback in this year's portal, and we're going to talk about Georgia's quarterback room, why he does and does not fit there, and what my overall thoughts on this are. This piece of news has sort of gotten lost with all the NFL draft stuff going on, but the Jaden Rashada to Georgia transfer is definitely quite intriguing. But first, if you're a big fan of college football, be sure to quickly take a moment and subscribe to the channel, leave a like if you're going to support today's video, and let me know what player, team, topic, or situation I could cover in my next one. Now let's get started and talk about Jaden Rashada. In my eyes, Jaden Rashada is one of the weirdest transfer quarterbacks in the portal, but we first need to go back in time and see who this guy is. Pretty much from early on, Jaden Rashada was seen as a pretty big deal, as he always loved the quarterback position and was an excellent athlete. Unfortunately, he is one of those players that played at multiple high schools, as he first started out at Liberty High School, before he would eventually spend time at both IMG and Pittsburgh. Scouts absolutely loved what Rashada brought to the table, and he started to become a big-time recruit with a ton of big-time offers. As a first-year starter in 2021, Rashada would burst onto the recruiting scene as he threw for 3,055 yards with 32 touchdowns. He also ran for over 400 yards and 7 scores on the ground, and because of that, he had now burst onto the national recruiting radar. At the time, he was working with former Vanderbilt quarterback Austin Carter-Samuels, and those two would start to pair up during his sophomore year of high school. Obviously, Carter-Samuels played quarterback for Vanderbilt back in the day, and was also part of the Missouri coaching staff at one point. The two would end up working together, and this would get the most out of Jaden. At the time, his recruitment was full of complete controversy. The first school he decided to commit to was Florida. This was a huge get for Billy Napier, who was looking to replace Anthony Richardson, and Rashada looked like he was going to be the future of the program. Everyone was super excited, and at the time, he was considered a 5-star recruit. Unfortunately though, I guess the coaching staff and the culture wasn't enough, as it was mostly NIL based. He could eventually ask for a release from all that, and then a few weeks later committed to Miami. He claimed he was loyal to the Gators, and then ended up going to a rival a few weeks later. It was kind of messed up if you ask me, but then Miami got burnt. They apparently agreed to an NIL deal worth $13 million, and they were not able to put pen to paper either. The money fell apart, and Rashada would ask for a release as well. It was eventually granted, and now he would have to find another school. His high school coach said, quote, "Rashada is probably a poster child for kids that were promised a lot and people didn't deliver and now they're stuck. How do you separate the deals that are real and the ones that aren't?" Well, maybe he is the poster child for that, but I'd say most of the mainstream football world did not view Jaden as a guy who was getting screwed. They viewed him as a completely spoiled player who was just bouncing from paycheck to paycheck, as $9 million wasn't enough at Florida, and then $13 million wasn't enough at Miami, and then he left. It seemed on paper at least that it was all about the money, but there was always more going on behind the scenes, and big-time quarterback recruits are navigating the Wild West right now, as no one really knows what's going on or how to handle all this. No one knows what they're worth, and what is too much or too little to ask for. Eventually he would decide to sign with Arizona State, and it made sense for 2 reasons. 1, they had an opening at the quarterback position, and 2, his dad played defensive back there from 1992 to 1994. Carter-Samuels said, quote, The decision was then for him to go back to his roots where his dad played at Arizona State. It was loyalty going back to a place familiar to the family, continuing the legacy of his father, and doing something for his dad's school. That was Arizona State. What to me is unfortunate about all this is that it sounds great on paper, but now that we flash forward a year, he already left. At the time, he was ranked as the number 6 pro-style quarterback and the 44th best player in the class of 2023. He'd arrive with a lot of potential and would eventually win the starting job over Trenton Bourguet and former Notre Dame transfer Drew Pine. Coach Dillingham said, quote, "Rashada's getting better every day, and he's making throws that are top-notch NFL throws that our team sees, and it's exciting to see." He ended up being named that starting quarterback, and his season was extremely limited due to injuries. He appeared in just 3 games, which in total he threw for 485 yards with 4 touchdowns and 3 interceptions. He played in their first 2 games of the season, and then also played in their season finale against Arizona. He ended up going 10 of 22 for 82 yards with a touchdown and 2 picks, and a loss to a ranked Arizona team. Rashada, I guess, had a couple moments of flash, but really he was very underwhelming, and you could tell he was not ready for the moment, or maybe not as good as advertised. After the season was over, it's like Rashada was 100% going to be the starter in 2024, and then probably play in 2025 and hope to be an NFL prospect. Unfortunately, he decided to cut his ASU time short, and I guess he was no longer building a legacy at ASU. He decided to enter the transfer portal, and Arizona State head coach Kenny Dillingham said he had no hard feelings. He said, quote, "Someone will be getting an elite talent and a great person. We will always be rooting for you." Apparently, behind the scenes, Michigan State transfer Sam Leavitt was making a lot of progress, and some were even saying on Reddit and in the various forums I read that Leavitt was actually probably going to win the starting job. I don't know how true that is, or maybe that's just coach talk, but either way, Rashada wanted a fresh start. He decided to enter the transfer portal a couple weeks ago, and this was one of the biggest portal news pieces we had seen in quite some time. After a couple of visits, he decided to sign with Georgia. Yeah, I was as shocked as you were. When I read that statement, I honestly did not believe it. Georgia seems to be a school that either signs an elite quarterback out of high school or grabs a big-time transfer out of the portal. Honestly, they don't really get many transfers out of the portal, for being honest here. But this one didn't make a whole lot of sense. Well, yes, Jaden was ranked highly coming out of high school, but he had the kind of tendencies that I think Kirby Smart would typically like to avoid, and he didn't exactly do a whole lot at ASU in his first couple of games. To me, this is both an insurance policy and a long-term project. Recently, Kirby Smart came out and said that he wanted 4 quarterbacks in the room, and currently, they only had 3. They had their returning starter Carson Beck, their big-time former 5-star Gunnar Stockton, and then true freshman Ryan Puglisi. I really hope I said that right. Ryan is apparently hurt though, so I guess they wanted a 4th guy in the room. They did try to get UNLV transfer Jaden Maeva, but after he committed to Georgia, he later flipped to USC. Unlike Maeva though, this one will likely stick. This one will hopefully stick. I can't guarantee it because he might enter his name into the portal in a couple of weeks, but for now, Jaden Rashada is on the roster. He'll join the Bulldogs for the 2024 season, and they have now found their 4th scholarship quarterback on the team. As I said, Kirby Smart has said that he wants 4 quarterbacks on the roster at all times, and to be honest, it would take a lot for Rashada to get on the field this year. Carson Beck is a Heisman-level player and someone who's trying to become a first-round draft pick, so unless he gets hurt or plays absolutely awful, he will get plenty of time on the field. Behind that, you have Gunnar Stockton, who's been waiting for 2 years, and that's definitely 1 and 2 for me. Ryan's hurt and inexperienced, so he probably doesn't play, so the only way Rashada comes in is if he is more impressive than Stockton in practice, or he's more impressive when he steps on the field in the 4th quarter of blowout games. So why exactly do you think this happened? Well, both Rashada and the staff are banking on his long-term potential. He probably could have found a place where he could start this year. I'm not sure if a Power 5 school would have actually taken him, but he definitely could have started at the Group of 5 level right away. This year he'll sit on the bench, and he'll hope to impress enough to hopefully be the starter in 2025. That would give him 1 year in the Georgia system before in his eyes he's probably declaring for the NFL draft. We'll have to wait and see, but Gunnar Stockton, Ryan Puglisi, and their incoming freshman in 2025, Ryan Montgomery, are not just going to hand over the spot. Honestly, this is a purely developmental move, and also gives a chance for Rashada to kind of step out of the limelight. He's been one of the most scrutinized quarterbacks of the last 2 years, and part of it's on him, and part of it's on things out of his control. It doesn't help that he's always moving around, but Rashada's going to get a chance to work, get out of the limelight, and prepare for next year. I'm sure he'll be ready if his name's called. Apparently, Austin Carter-Samuels knew exactly what Rashada was thinking, as he paraphrased saying this: "This is what college football is. I felt I've experienced everything I could have possibly had in the last 3 or 4 years, and I'm looking for stability, I'm looking for development, and I'm looking to be the best version of myself." It looks like Rashada's trying to go under the radar, and some believe that he has a Bryce Young or CJ Stroud type charisma. I don't know if I see that, But that is what Curtis Samuels said. When asked for a comparison, Curtis Samuels says that he reminds him a lot of Jaden Daniels, as he's not as great of a runner as Jaden Daniels, but he's a better passer than Jaden. Again, I don't know, this seems a little bit far-fetched to me. But at the end of the day, Rashada does have plenty of talent. He was one of the best dual-threat quarterbacks in his class. He's nearly 6'5", is very quick, and was wanted by nearly every school coming out of high school. There's a reason why Georgia and Kirby Smart are giving him a shot, as at worst, he sits a year and develops and transfers again, or at best, he pans out, gets himself together, and becomes a starter. I don't really necessarily know what will happen, but for now, we know Carson Beck is the guy, and beyond that, everything is a question mark. But what do you guys think? If you're a Georgia fan, what do you think of this year's quarterback room, and what do you think of this transfer? Be sure to let me know down below. Let me know another transfer quarterback I should do a video on next. And before you go, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.